Good day, good day, good day, good day, good day, good day, everyone. Welcome back, grade 7 students. This is your English class with Teacher Ross. How are you today? Are you excited to learn new things? Very good. We are now on quarter 3, week 2. For our most essential learning competency, use the appropriate oral language, stance, and behavior when giving information, instructions, making explanations, and narrating events in factual and personal recounts. At the end of this lesson, you are expected to define oral communication, identify characteristics of effective oral language, recognize rules that govern social interaction, use nonverbal behaviors and stances. As students and future adults, you need to develop your oral communication skills that can be used not only in school but in your everyday lives. But first, let us define oral communication. Oral communication is the exchange of information and ideas through spoken word. It can be directly in person, in a face-to-face interaction, or through an electronic device such as a phone or radio. And there are certain fundamentals that need to be learned before embarking on formal use of oral communication. We have the characteristics of effective oral language in different oral communication situations, broad rules that govern social interaction, and nonverbal behaviors and stances. And today we will discuss oral language, stance, and behavior. Let us begin. What is oral language? Oral language is the system through which we use spoken words to express knowledge, ideas, and feelings. Last week, we already discussed some of the things to remember in making explanations, giving instructions, and narrating recounts. Let us review them today. Let us have first the things to remember when giving information and instructions. First, you need to be direct. Set the context. Be clear and remember that things can go wrong. And here are the things to remember when making explanations. CI is an easy-to-use and methodological critical thinking technique assisting people in clarifying their ideas. It stands for the following: S. State it. E. Elaborate. E. Exemplify. And I. Illustrate. And here are the things to remember when narrating events in factual and personal recounts. When we say recount, it retells an activity the speaker has been personally involved in and may be used to build the relationship between the speaker and the listener. For example, anecdote, diary journal, and personal letter. There are two types of recount. We have the factual recount and personal recount. Factual recounts of these are used to record details and facts of a particular event which the speaker or writer has not necessarily been involved in. On the other hand, personal recounts, these describe events that the speaker or the writer was personally involved in. Next, we have rules that govern social interaction. In order to learn speaking and listening skills, a speaker needs to create awareness of the way conversation works by considering the rules to be observed by good speakers and listeners. These are often unconscious. The first rule is turn-taking. Turn-taking occurs in a conversation when one person listens while the other person speaks. It is very important for an effective speaker-listener relationship. The speaker needs to recognize pauses in a conversation where you can take a turn, interrupt, ask a question, or change the subject. Let us look at this illustration about turn taking. We can follow this whenever we are having conversation with somebody. So we have here, we will take turns. It is my turn. Now I have to wait, and then it is your turn. Next is the floor. The person who is currently speaking is the person who holds the floor. During conversations, speakers and listeners use eye contact, body language, gestures, and pauses to judge when a new voice can take the floor. Then we have adjacency pairs. Let us have first adjacent, the word adjacent. A-D-J-A-C-E-N-T, adjacent. Adjacent means close to or near something. You may consider the people up and down your street to be neighbors, but your next door neighbor is the person who lives in the house or apartment adjacent to yours. Adjacent can refer to two things that touch each other or have the same wall or border. And when we say adjacency pairs, these are the sequences of two utterances next to each other, produced by two different speakers. For example, a question and answer, or a greeting and a response. This can work well to help develop everyday social interactions of pupils. Then next, we have repair. From the word itself, repair. Repair takes place when a speaker has to fix something he or she has said. Example, I said seen. I meant saw. Sometimes the listener can seek a repair which could be expressed through a facial expression or body language, or check for meaning by asking a question such as, "What do you mean?" or "I don't understand." Speakers need to be encouraged to check that they understand what another person is saying and to check that others understand them. Then, the last but definitely one of the most important rules, we have politeness. It is not just shown by using po and opo. It attracts positive attention. People notice mannerisms and tend to respond in kind. Seeing a smile or hearing one tends to make you smile too. Politeness gives tough situations a chance to get turned around. Now, let us discuss nonverbal behaviors and stances. Have you observed that a person's body language is sometimes opposite to what he or she is saying? Okay, it is because nonverbal behaviors and stances have meanings as well. The first one is the use of voice or prosodic features. When we say prosodic features, these are features that appear when we put sounds together in connected speech. It is as important to teach learners prosodic features as successful communication depends as much on intonation, stress, and rhythm as on the correct pronunciation of sounds. It is not just what you say, it is how you say it. When you speak, other people read your voice in addition to listening to your words. Things they pay attention to include your timing and pace, how loud you speak, your tone and inflection, and sounds that convey understanding, such as and uh-huh. Think about how your tone of voice can indicate sarcasm, anger, affection, or confidence. We have under this is volume. Volume depends on the needs of the situation, purpose, and audience. There are times when loud voices are required, such as in a play or during assembly. There are also times when quiet voices are necessary, such as working in the library. Generally speaking, a voice should be loud enough that the intended audience can hear and understand the message being delivered. The use of varying volume will help to create emphasis or drama when recounting events, telling a story, or persuading an audience. We have here my voice volume scale. We have level 1, level 2, level 3, level 4, and level 5. For level 1, no talking, silent, or shh. Level 2, we have whisper or soft voice. Level 3, inside or classroom voice. Level 4, outside voice. And level 5, screaming or emergency only. For example, the sentence, "Come here, Mary." So let us try this volume scale. For level 1, no talking, silent, shh, or you can use facial expressions. For level 2, we can say, "Come here, Mary." For level 3, "Come here, Mary." Level 4, "Come here, Mary." And level 5, "Come here, Mary." Next, we have intonation. Basically, intonation indicates the changes in speech. A downward intonation indicates that a message is complete, while an upward intonation indicates a question, but this is not always the case. We have two basic patterns. First, rising intonation. Rising intonation describes how the voice rises at the end of a sentence. Rising intonation is common in yes or no questions and enumeration. Then, we also have falling intonation. Falling intonation describes how the voice falls on the final stressed syllable of a phrase or a group of words. A falling intonation is very common in WH questions. For examples, do you play badminton? And where do you live? Another examples. For the WH questions, we will use falling intonation, and the voice goes down. Where are you from? What is your job? Then we have yes or no questions, rising intonation. Are you a student? Is he your brother? Then we also have statements. We will use a falling intonation. The class is on Monday. The bus stop is next to my apartment. Then we have exclamations or excited speech, rising then falling intonation. That's amazing! Wow! Then we have pitch. Pitch is useful to use when expressing emotion. Our pitch rises when we are excited and lowers when we are sad. For example, how do you say this? Is it, "Oh, the house is burning!" Or, "Oh, this is burning." Very good. The first one, wherein you sound nervous, panicked, or worried. Next, we have stress. Word stress is the idea that in a word with more than one syllable, one or more than one syllable will be stressed or accented, and the rest will be unstressed or unaccented. There are two very important rules about word stress. Number one word, one stress. One word cannot have two stresses. So if you hear two stresses, you have heard two words, not one word. Number two, the stress is always on a vowel. There are certain words in the English language that can be used as either nouns or verbs. Put stress on the first syllable when saying a noun. Put stress on the second syllable when saying a verb. But remember, this rule does not apply to all words that can be used as either a noun or verb. English words that are polysyllabic, have more than one syllable, always have one syllable that is stressed. In most English dictionaries, the stressed syllable is indicated by a stress mark, a symbol that resembles an apostrophe. Sometimes the stressed syllables are written in capital letters. For examples, contest, contest, object, object, present, present, record, record. Let us hear another examples using these three words.
Photograph, photographer, photographic.
Alright, then let us move on. Next, we have pause. Pause is a moment of silence between phrases, used to separate ideas and also used for holding attention. This is particularly useful when giving formal presentations such as an oral report or telling a story. In phonetic analysis, a double vertical bar, like this one, is used to represent a distinct or long pause, and single vertical bar, like this, is for a short pause. Let's take a look at this example, which is correct. Let's eat people. Let us eat people. Next is pronunciation. Pronunciation refers to the way words are said. Pronunciation varies across regions. It is important that speakers know the accepted pronunciation of words in Standard English. Standard English, according to Merriam-Webster Dictionary, it is the English that, with respect to spelling, grammar, pronunciation, and vocabulary, is substantially uniform, though not devoid of regional differences, that is well established by usage in the formal and informal speech and writing of the educated, and that is widely recognized as acceptable wherever English is spoken and understood. Let us have some of the mispronounced words. I have provided symbols that can be read literally. But if you want to get the accurate symbols using the International Phonetic Alphabet, please visit a dictionary. Repeat after me. Aisle. Aisle. Very good. Next, archive. Archive. Very good. Next, epitome. Epitome. Very good. Next, number 4, niche. Niche. Correct. Then number 5, pronunciation. Pronunciation. Very good. Alright, next, after the use of voice or prosodic features, we have now proximity. Proximity is the amount of personal space between people who are talking, the relationship between them, their personalities, and their culture, or whether the situation is personal, social, or public will all affect the amount of proximity needed. Have you ever felt uncomfortable during a conversation because the other person was standing too close and invading your space? We all have the need for physical space, although that need differs depending on the culture, the situation, and the closeness of the relationship. You can use physical space to communicate many different nonverbal messages, including signals of intimacy and affection, aggression, or dominance. Next, we have eye contact. Eye contact is the use of the eyes or gaze in face-to-face communication. The level of eye contact often depends on the relationship between the communicators and affects both the speaker and the listener. Since the visual sense is dominant for most people, eye contact is an especially important type of nonverbal communication. The way you look at someone can communicate many things, including interest, affection, or attraction. Eye contact is also important in maintaining the flow of conversation and for gauging the other person's interest and response. Next, we have facial expression. Facial expressions are responsible for a huge proportion of nonverbal communication. Consider how much information can be conveyed with a smile or a frown. The look on a person's face is often the first thing we see even before we hear what they have to say. The human face is extremely expressive, able to convey countless emotions without saying a word. And unlike some forms of nonverbal communication, facial expressions are universal. The facial expressions for happiness, sadness, anger, surprise, fear, and disgust are the same across cultures. Look at this chart. We have here different facial expressions. We have annoyed, aloof, disbelief, screaming, enraged, shocked, disgusted, bored, and sad. Next, we have gestures. Deliberate movements and signals are an important way to communicate meaning without words. Common gestures include waving, pointing, and using fingers to indicate numeric amounts. Other gestures are arbitrary and related to culture. Gestures are woven into the fabric of our daily lives. You may wave, point, or use your hands when arguing or speaking animatedly, often expressing yourself with gestures without thinking. However, the meaning of some gestures can be very different across cultures. While the OK sign, like this, made with the hand, for example, usually conveys a positive message in English-speaking countries. It is considered offensive in countries such as Germany, Russia, and Brazil. So it's important to be careful of how you use gestures to avoid misinterpretation. Next, we have body language and posture. For example, hand gestures or nodding or shaking the head, which are often the easiest element of nonverbal communication to control. Consider how your perceptions of people are affected by the way they sit, walk, stand, or hold their head. The way you move and carry yourself communicates a wealth of information to the world. This type of nonverbal communication includes your posture, bearing, stance, and the subtle movements you make. Let me share some examples of body postures and gestures that influence how your listeners understand your message when you are speaking. First, stand with confidence. To prevent swaying and rocking while speaking in front of others, spread your feet about 6 to 8 inches parallel to each other to achieve comfortable speaking position. Next, face your audience with your hands on the side with your chin up. This will help you appear open and sincere to your audience and will give impression that you are in control of the situation. Use your hands to emphasize your message. Relevant gestures will help you deliver your message. Then, avoid these nonverbal behaviors as much as possible. Number 1, avoid crossing your arms. It makes you look defensive. Avoid putting your hands at your back. It would mean that you are hiding something. Avoid putting your hands in your pocket. It may also seem that you are hiding something. Avoid putting your hands on chin, because it may seem that you are not ready with what you are going to say. Avoid putting your hands on hips. It makes you seem aggressive. Remember, be careful on using oral language, stances, and behaviors when having conversation with other people to avoid misunderstanding. To give you one last example, applying all the things that we have discussed, kindly watch this simple video and take note the rules that the speakers followed, the nonverbal behaviors used, and the characteristics of an effective oral language and different oral communication observed. Ready?
Flight attendant challenge. For today, I am the passenger seated by the exit row and you are the flight attendant who will brief me about it. Let's go.
Hi ma'am, excuse me.
Oh, hi.
I would like to inform you that you are seated by the exit row. In case of emergency, are you willing to
Yeah,
assist?
sure.
That's great. Kindly read the passenger briefing card found in the seat pocket. If you have any questions, feel free to ask any of the cabin crew.
Sure thing. Thank you so much.
Also, ma'am, bags are not allowed in the emergency exit row.
This one?
Yes, any type of bag.
And why is that?
Because in case of emergency evacuation, your bag can be an obstruction. Therefore, it is considered as a safety hazard.
Oh, I see. That's good to know. I'll put my bag in a while. I'll just get my phone. Is that okay?
Yes, that's fine.
Thank you.
Thank you too.
Now, let us examine the way they communicated. What rules did they follow? Turn taking, very good. The floor, correct. Politeness, very good. Adjacency pair, correct. How about nonverbal behaviors? They used gestures, very good. Nodding, smiling, and facial expressions, very good. What did the flight attendant do? Alright, she gave instructions and made explanations. Now, how are you going to describe the flight attendant? Correct! She was polite and direct. She elaborated the things that the passenger needed to know. How about the passenger? Very good. She was also polite and she listened carefully. Do you think they can be effective speakers? Okay, yes, with proper practice and exposure, anyone can be an effective speaker. Take note of the fundamentals and keep on practicing. because practice makes perfect. That would be all for today. I am looking forward to see effective speakers someday. Thank you, stay safe, and bye!